Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. That is a great story, isn't it? The prodigal son story. Everyone's like, I wasn't really paying attention. Seriously, though, I love that story. Although I am one who really likes the parables, if you were here at our Wednesday night worship, you know that well by now. The parables are Jesus' primary way of teaching. And it's my opinion that Jesus uses the parables because of their open-ended and non-definitive way in which they can be understood. That is to say, a person can't really say, like, this is what this story means, and know that for sure. The whole purpose of the parables, in my opinion, is that they create conversation. And I like that. That's why I like the prodigal son story. There is a lot to talk about. Anyone know what the word prodigal means? Prodigal means, well, it's characterized by a profuse and excessive expenditure, wasteful, gluttonous, which is kind of ironic, right? I mean, I think that we often think of the prodigal son, and the prodigal means that you come back home, and so the prodigal son is the one that comes back. That's not really what prodigal means. The prodigal son is the one who recklessly wastes his share of the inheritance, the family money. So our story, the prodigal son, it starts out kind of abruptly, right? We meet two sons and a father. The younger son asks his dad for his share of the family inheritance. Pretty terrible blow for the father, right? If you think about it. This is one of those few instances that translates pretty easily for us here in the 21st century. I mean, just think, if your kid asks you for their share of the inheritance right now, while you're still alive, how do you think that would go over for you? Would make you feel really good? Hey, Dad, could I have like half the house now? I'll sell it and go off. How about the car? You know, that one you really like? It's going to be mine anyway, right, someday, so I'll just take it now. Cash in now. There's, your retirement. Let's just cash it out right now, take my share, go on my way. And basically, it's implying that he doesn't even care about the livelihood of his father anymore, right? To him, his family, his dad, is dead. He just wants his stuff. And then we find out that right away he sells all of his share and cashes in and leaves. Pretty shocking stuff. And naturally, after he sells all of that stuff and leaves, that's when things really get bad. That's when the crap hits the fan. Everything goes wrong. First, the son wastes all the money. I like this verse that it uses, verse 13, and how it's very detailed. He squanders his property in dissolute living. Two negatives there if you catch it. He squanders or wastes the money. Definitely a negative connotation, right? And then it says that he wastes it on dissolute living. Now, dissolute isn't a very commonly used word for us now. In fact, I don't think I've ever used that word without talking about the prodigal son. Dissolute means when you particularly indulge in vices, moral decay, especially sexually immoral, the definition. A very good translation of that Greek word. In fact, if you were to go a little bit more into the Greek word, it would even also imply that the son is reckless in this action. The point is, the younger son has gone morally bankrupt, which isn't a surprise. He asked his dad for the inheritance before he's even dead. I mean, for those who are savvy in pop culture references, think Charlie Sheen here. Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sex, expensive cars, fast cars, dangerous behavior, wrong places with people that are just as messed up as you. This kid's in a bad place. In fact, he's in such a bad place, even in his morally decayed and probably yes, they did have drugs back then, in his drug-laden mind, he realizes, or he comes to this conclusion, that it would actually be better to go back home and work for his dad than continue on the path that he's moving. I mean, how bad do you have to be? How desperate do you have to be to think that that's the best answer? I mean, he basically said that his brother and his dad and their whole way of life was just a waste of his time and dead to him, and he walked away from it. And now he's going to have to go back and face that. He can't possibly think that's going to go well, right? But we know it does go well. It goes shockingly well. We are told that as the son nears home, while he's still even far off, the father sees him and comes running to him. That's shocking. It actually seems to imply that the father has been watching all this time for his son to come back home. Watching and waiting. Though the son has forlorned his whole family, the father especially, the father never gave up on him. The father welcomes him back into the family, no holds barred. Here at House of Prayer, our fourth guiding prayer is that we welcome everybody. Some of us may find this to be very difficult or seemingly impossible. Some of us may find it offensive. Let me say that the older son in our story for this morning, he found it offensive to welcome back his brother. Quite offensive. Because welcoming some people can be offensive. We here at House of Prayer like to say that we are quite welcoming. Of course, I think every church ever has thought of themselves as welcoming. I mean, have you ever heard a church or gone to a church and said, yeah, we're not very welcoming. We're not really into that kind of thing. I mean, everyone thinks they're welcoming. But generally, it actually is pretty true around here. We are quite welcoming sometimes. If you ask some of us new people here to the community in the last few years, we would say that we were welcomed pretty nicely around here. I've actually heard people say that. Jeff said that. Jeff said that you were welcoming. We can be welcoming once in a while. Others have not found our community very welcoming. But the reality is, we are very good at welcoming people who look and act like us. We are welcoming people who meet our standards, who meet our expectations. But we here at House of Prayer have said that's just not enough. We are called to welcome everyone. And again, this isn't easy. This prayer, this guiding prayer, this fourth of our guiding prayers, was one of the phrases that we spent a lot of time talking about as a council. We had gotten back the surveys, we've been in dialogue, we've heard about how this was something that we believed strongly in, but yet we found it tough when we actually talked about who some of those people were. We agreed with the words that we welcome everyone. I mean, we agreed that was 100% House of Prayer, and it was exactly what we needed to be all about as a church community. But we realized it was tough. One very brilliant of our council people was really struggling with this prayer. And, we all were, if we were honest with ourselves. But he was the one who had the guts to actually make this great observation. He said that welcoming certain people was very difficult for him in his life. He had a difficult time understanding certain people and didn't know how welcoming he really could honestly be with certain people. But then he said, even though he still felt that way, it was the right thing for this church to say as a church, to welcome everyone, and he would work on it himself. Well, there it is, friends. That's it. That's what it means to be welcoming. That's what it's all about. I mean, how beautiful is that? If we're honest with ourselves, we all have people in our lives that we have a hard time welcoming, every one of us. People that for whatever reason we struggle at loving, accepting, welcoming. And in this community, that's okay. In this community, we are all broken, forgiven. Remember number 2? We are a process. And the beauty is it's not up to every one of us or any one of us. As a community, we welcome everyone. House of Prayer, we welcome everyone. It doesn't necessarily mean that we live in perfect harmony with one another. or that we condone everybody's actions, each other's actions, or lifestyles. On the contrary, that isn't what it means. We're all broken and forgiven. Number 2 again. Therefore, it's good to be in community with one another, holding each other to expectations, to standards, being accountable to each other and to God together. But that does not stand in the way of welcoming anyone to this community. I'm sure you've all noticed from time to time when you open up your bulletin that there's a couple words of welcome at the top of the bulletin, right? Always a couple sentences there about, welcome to worship for this morning. Usually just a line or two. And I recently saw one of the most amazing welcomes that I've ever seen in a church bulletin. It was beautiful, deep, inclusive. And I think it very clearly speaks to God's love and desire that all are welcomed and included. So here I'm going to read the welcome from Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Community. Yes, the Catholic. They wrote, "We extend a special welcome to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, filthy rich, dirt poor, yo no habla inglés. We extend a special welcome to those who are crying newborns," that's one of my favorites, "skinny as a rail, or could afford to lose a few pounds. We welcome you if you can sing like Andrea Bocelli, or like our pastor who can't carry a note in a bucket. You're welcome here if you're just browsing, or woke up, or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more Catholic than the Pope, or haven't been to church since little Joey's baptism. We extend a special welcome to those who are over 60, but not grown up yet, and to teenagers who are growing up too fast. We welcome soccer moms, NASCAR dads, starving artists, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or still addicted. We welcome you if you are having problems, or if you're down in the dumps, or if you don't like organized religion. We've been there too. If you blew all of your offering money at the dog track, you are welcome here. We offer a special welcome to those who think the earth is flat, work too hard, don't work, can't spell, or because grandma is in town and wanted to go to church. We welcome those who are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now, had religion shoved down your throat as a kid, or got lost in traffic and wound up here by mistake. We welcome tourists, seekers, doubters, bleeding hearts, and you. We welcome everyone. Amen.